My sister said I could use her wedding venue since I couldn't afford one, then hijacked the whole date as a vow renewal and told everyone it was Sister Support Day. I let her have her moment, then ended it mid-kiss with the truth. I was standing behind the heavy wooden doors of the event hall in Round Rock, Texas, smoothing down the front of the simple white dress I'd bought on clearance, trying to breathe through the nerves that had been crawling up my throat all morning. It was supposed to be my wedding day. Not fancy, not lavish, just mine. My sister Jenna had insisted that I use her old wedding venue since money had gotten tight for me and my fiancé, Mark. She told me she wanted to lift me up the way family should. She said she already talked to the owners, said it'd cost almost nothing, said it was the least she could do. I believed her. That's the part that guts me now. Because when those doors finally swung open, I didn't see my wedding. I didn't see Mark waiting for me. I didn't even see our colors or decor or anything that looked remotely like what we planned. I saw her, Jenna, standing at the center of the aisle, in a brand new white dress, her husband beside her. All the guests turned toward them, clapping, cheering, taking photos. A banner hung over their heads. Vow Renewal and Sister Support Day. At first, I honestly thought my brain had snapped. Like maybe I walked into the wrong room or rehearsed the wrong time. Or maybe this was some twisted surprise that would end with laughter and confetti. But then Jenna saw me. She waved like I was some kind of celebrity guest. "There she is," she shouted into the mic. "The reason we're all here today, my amazing sister." People clapped again. For her, not for me. My maid of honor slowly stepped back from me like she just noticed smoke coming from a building. My mom couldn't even make eye contact. The only person looking directly at me with pure horror was Mark, from across the room, cornered near the bar, because Jenna had told him there was a pre-ceremony surprise, and he needed to stay hidden until the reveal. The reveal was that my sister had hijacked my entire wedding. I knew she couldn't afford a real day, Jenna continued, beaming at the crowd, so I figured, why not combine our events? Two sisters, one beautiful celebration of love. Except there was no two. There was just her. Her flowers, her music, her officiant, her photographer. Her guests, because half of mine had been redirected by her to help fill the room for the renewal. My hands were shaking so hard I had to grab the doorframe to steady myself. I felt this weird ringing in my ears, like I was underwater. And then Jenna did the one thing I'll never forget as long as I live. She turned to her husband, wrapped her arms around him, and told the officiant to go ahead and start. They were going to complete the whole vow renewal, on my date, at my venue, in my time slot, while I just stood there like an extra in their photos. I don't know what face I was making, but people finally started noticing something was wrong. A whisper moved through the room, chairs shifted, cameras lowered, but Jenna didn't notice. She was basking, smiling like she owned the air everyone breathed. When the officiant reached the "you may kiss your bride" part, something inside me snapped into a cold, perfect line. That was the moment I walked forward, stepped between them, and said the words that made the entire room freeze. What I said, and what happened right after, took my sister's perfect little day and ripped it clean open. Growing up in Round Rock, Jenna was always the one people noticed first. She had this big, bright personality that filled a room before she even walked into it. Teachers adored her. Family bragged about her. Strangers just naturally gravitated toward her. I never minded it, honestly. I thought that was just her thing, and I was the quiet sister who handled the practical stuff. Our parents fed into it without meaning to. Jenna got dance classes, cheer, pageants, summer camps, every activity that let her be seen. I got books, thrift store hobbies, and the role of the responsible one. I didn't resent her. I just learned how to stay out of the spotlight. But as we got older, Jenna's need to be the center of everything grew into something sharper. If I announced news, she announced bigger news. If I got a promotion, she suddenly had a crisis that pulled everyone's attention. If I got engaged, well, she got unexpectedly pregnant, even though she later admitted she had stopped her birth control months before because everyone needed a reason to celebrate again. That was the first time I felt something sour toward her, but I pushed it down because she was my sister. Then my fiancé, Mark, came into the picture. Mark is calm, patient, steady, the kind of person who actually listens when you talk. Jenna adored him at first. She'd drag him into long conversations, invite him to little family things without asking me, even text him separately to ask about gift ideas or get a guy's opinion. I chalked it up to her being friendly. Mark brushed it off too, even though he thought it was a bit much. Still, I never once thought she'd cross a real line. When Mark and I started planning the wedding, money got tight fast. My job had cut hours, his car needed an expensive repair, and every venue in the Austin area seemed determined to financially destroy us. We planned to push the wedding out another year, maybe two. That's when Jenna swooped in like some kind of hero. She told me she'd kept a great relationship with the venue where she'd gotten married 4 years ago. She said she talked to the owners and secured a heavily discounted rate for us. She said she wanted to give me a chance to feel special for once. She used those exact words. "Let me help you feel special." I cried when she told me. I actually hugged her. I believed she was showing real sisterly love, maybe making up for times she accidentally overshadowed me. She even insisted on covering decorations, so everything stayed cohesive, which I assumed meant color coordination and simple design. I didn't think for a second she'd completely take over the entire event. Every time I asked for details, flowers, layout, music, she waved me off with, "Trust me, you worry too much. It's going to be perfect." Mark wasn't fully comfortable with the arrangement, but he said if it eased stress and saved money, he'd go along with it. He just wanted me happy. That's who he is. 2 days before the wedding, Jenna told me she had a fun surprise element planned and that I should be ready for a lot of emotions. I assumed maybe she made a slideshow or some kind of sweet sister speech. She wouldn't give details. She just kept saying, "You'll love it. Everyone will love it." I never imagined the surprise was her claiming my entire day, but looking back now, the signs were there. The missed calls from the venue when I tried to confirm things. Jenna showing up late to my dress fitting, but talking nonstop about alterations she was getting done on her own dress for an upcoming event. All of it. Right in front of me, and I didn't see any of it. And the worst part, the part that still makes my stomach twist, is that Mark told me the morning of the wedding that Jenna had called him separately and said she needed him out of the way for the surprise. I should have known. I should have seen it coming, but I didn't, and she counted on that. The morning of the wedding, the fake wedding, as I think of it now, started with this weird pit in my stomach that I kept trying to ignore. Jenna had texted me a dozen times between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m., all variations of, "Don't stress. Just show up looking pretty. Let me handle the chaos." Usually her energy made me laugh, but that day it just felt off. She was too excited, too controlling, too invested in managing every second of the schedule. But I brushed it off and told myself she was just happy for me. Mark, however, wasn't so easily convinced. He kept glancing at his phone, checking it between every other sentence. He showed me one of the texts Jenna sent him. "Make sure you're at the venue early. I'll come get you for the surprise moment." "Why would your sister need me for anything?" he asked, brow furrowed. "Shouldn't she be with you?" I shrugged, because honestly I'd stopped trying to understand how Jenna's brain worked years ago. "Maybe she needs you for a photo or something. I don't know." He didn't like that answer, but he let it go. As the morning went on, little things started stacking up in a way that made my nerves buzz. 1. My bouquet never arrived. Jenna claimed she had it and would hand it to me right before the doors opened. 2. The makeup artist Jenna booked kept asking me questions about the color palette. I didn't know any answers because Jenna had chosen everything. 3. My maid of honor whispered, "Are you sure Jenna's not taking over?" I told her she was being dramatic. 4. My mom kept giving me this tight, strained smile, like she wanted to say something but couldn't. That should have been the biggest red flag. Then there were the guests. My cousins texted to ask what time Jenna's event started. Jenna's old friends posted, "Can't wait for today." Red on social media with photos of the venue decorations, photos I hadn't even seen yet. My aunt asked if I was excited to support Jenna. That one hit me like a rock to the chest. Support Jenna on my wedding day. I called her, she didn't pick up, she texted instead, "Don't freak out, trust the process." Trust the process, Jesus. But the final straw, the moment everything in me went cold, came about 20 minutes before we were supposed to start. Mark texted me from inside the venue. "Babe, something isn't right. Are you sure this is our setup? Because everything looks like Jenna's first wedding. Same flowers, same colors, same layout." My heart started pounding. Hands shaking, I typed back, "Ask someone what's going on." He didn't respond for a full 5 minutes. Then, "Your sister just told the photographer to start with her portraits. What's happening?" I felt this heavy pressure in my chest, like all the air in the world had been sucked out through a pinhole. I tried calling Jenna again. Straight to voicemail. My mom peeked her head into the bride's room and said, "Sweetheart, maybe just take a deep breath. It's all going to work out." But the way she wouldn't meet my eyes made me feel sick. When the coordinator finally came to get me, she smiled too brightly and said, "Ready for the big moment?" But her eyes flicked away quickly, like she didn't want to lie to my face for too long. Something terrible was happening. I could feel it crawling under my skin. And when those doors opened, when I saw Jenna in my place, in a white dress, using my day for her own applause, it didn't feel like shock. It felt like confirmation. She'd been building to this. Step by step, little by little, until she finally took the one moment I'd waited my whole life for. And somewhere deep inside, beneath the hurt and trembling, something colder started to form. Not rage, not yet. But the beginning of it. When I stepped between Jenna and her husband mid-kiss, the entire room fell silent. Chairs scraping, someone gasping, a phone clattering to the floor. Jenna's smile froze on her face, half-formed, confused at first, then annoyed, then furious. Excuse me," she hissed under her breath, like I'd interrupted her while she was filming a TikTok and not, stealing my wedding. But before I could even open my mouth, her husband, Evan, looked at me with this haunted, guilty expression. The kind of look people have when they've been hiding something and finally get caught in the blast radius. That was the moment everything tilted. Because instead of looking confused or surprised, instead of asking what the hell was going on, Evan whispered, "I told you this would blow up. You said she didn't need to know until after." I froze. The room froze. Jenna whipped toward him like she could physically shove the words back into his throat. "Evan, stop." But he didn't stop. He looked sick, pale, sweating, eyes flicking between me and Mark like he wanted to disappear. "What doesn't she need to know?" I asked, my voice coming out lower than I expected. Jenna stepped forward, plastering on that fake public smile she always used when things were collapsing behind the scenes. "Ignore him. He's being dramatic. Today is about love and family and—" "No," Evan cut in. "You need to tell her now." People were staring, whispering. Phones were recording. Jenna's nostrils flared, the exact look she used to get when she got caught lying as a kid. But she still tried to spin it. "Fine," she snapped, raising her voice so everyone could hear. "Yes, I told the venue this was for a vow renewal, but only because they wouldn't have given us the discounted rate otherwise." My stomach dropped. "The discounted rate?" I repeated. "You told me it was for my wedding, that you handled everything. You said they offered you a deal." Jenna rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. "Oh my God, not this again. You couldn't afford the place, remember? I figured if I booked it under my name, as a returning client, they'd give a better price, which they did. And I didn't want you stressing, so I just combined things." "Combined?" I echoed. "You mean replaced?" She flipped her hair, shrugging. "Why not let us all share the spotlight? It's not like your wedding was going to be huge anyway." The room made a collective sound, half gasp, half uncomfortable shift. But that wasn't the twist, not the real one. The real twist came when Evan finally spoke again, voice trembling. "Just tell her why you really did it, Jenna. Tell her what you told me last month when you booked the renewal behind her back." Jenna's face went dead white. My heartbeat slammed in my ears. "Booked the renewal last month," Evan nodded slowly. "She said," his voice cracked, "she said she didn't want your wedding to outshine her marriage. That you were already getting more sympathy and attention than she was, and she was tired of playing second place in the family." People stared at Jenna like she'd sprouted horns. Jenna spun on Evan. "That's not what I said. You're twisting everything." But he kept talking, almost relieved to finally spill it. "You said her getting married first wasn't the natural order. And you said, and I quote, 'If she wants a wedding so badly, she can share mine. It'll still look better on me.'" I felt something in my chest tear clean open. Jenna's eyes darted around the room, searching for anyone who might save her. No one moved. Even my mom looked horrified, hand covering her mouth. That was the first twist, finding out the hijacking wasn't an accident, or a misunderstanding, or even ego. It was calculated, months in the making, planned behind my back, and I wasn't done discovering the depth of it, not even close. After Evan's words ripped through the room, Jenna stood there trembling, more from humiliation than guilt. She kept trying to laugh it off, as if the whole thing could be smoothed over with charm and denial. But people weren't buying it anymore. Phones were still recording. Mark was by my side in seconds. My mom looked like she no longer recognized her own daughter. The officiant quietly stepped away. The photographer lowered her camera. Someone whispered, "This is bad," like it wasn't already obvious. But me, I felt calm, cold, clear. The shock had burned off. The disbelief had evaporated. All that was left was this quiet, steady focus. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to argue. Jenna wanted spectacle. I refused to give her more of what she craved. I took Mark's hand. "We're leaving." But then Jenna grabbed my arm. "You are not ruining this," she snapped, voice low and vicious. "You're being dramatic. If you walk out, everyone will remember that, not whatever Evan said. You'll look jealous and unstable." I stared at her hand on my arm, then at her face. She had always believed she could control the narrative. She thought her confidence could overwrite the truth. She honestly believed she could twist this into something that made me look bad. That was the moment I understood the depth of her delusion. I gently pulled my arm free. "You already ruined this," she scoffed. "Don't be stupid. We can fix it. We just need to—" "No," I said quietly. "You need to face what you did." She opened her mouth again, but I walked away before she could spit out another excuse. In the hallway, Mark squeezed my hand. "What do you want to do?" That question, what I wanted, felt strange after weeks of being told to trust the process. I took a breath. "I want my wedding back." He nodded like he'd been waiting for me to say that. "Then we'll make that happen." My maid of honor rushed over. "Tell me how I can help, anything." I knew right then I had people, real people, ones who didn't need attention or applause, ones who didn't use support as a spotlight. And in that moment, a plan began forming. Quiet, sharp, surgical, not rage, not revenge for revenge's sake. Just reclaiming what was mine and making sure Jenna couldn't spin it, hide it, or reframe it later. We found the venue manager, an older woman named Carol who looked mortified by the chaos. I asked one simple question. "Did Jenna book this event as a vow renewal?" She sighed and nodded. "Yes, under her name. She said you'd be incorporating your ceremony into it as a family moment." I swallowed the anger. "Did she tell you the actual wedding was supposed to be mine?" Her eyes widened. "She did not." I nodded. "So here's what I need you to do." I laid out the plan calmly. No drama, no ranting, just facts, requests, and logistics. Carol listened, then said, "Honestly, after what I've just seen, it would be my pleasure." When I walked back into the hall, Jenna was trying to gather her guests, desperately trying to patch her image. She didn't see Carol talking to staff behind her. She didn't see Mark quietly guiding our guests to stay seated. She didn't see the way phones were still recording, catching every frantic word she said. She was too busy trying to salvage her spotlight. That's how I knew my timing would be perfect. Because my plan didn't involve yelling, or drama, or a public fight. My plan was to take the day back, completely, brutally, and undeniably, and make sure Jenna watched every second of it slip out of her control. And when I finally stepped back toward the center of the room, ready to pull the first thread, she still had no idea what was coming. When I stepped back into the hall, the room had shifted. You could feel it, this thick, electric tension hanging in the air. People weren't whispering anymore. They were watching, waiting, unsure whose side to stand on. Jenna was in the middle of it all, pacing in tight circles, clutching her bouquet so hard petals were falling off. She spun toward me the second I walked in. "Oh my God, finally, we need to talk outside. You're embarrassing yourself." But before I could say anything, Carol, the venue manager, walked in behind me with two staff members. And then the twist hit, fast and hard. "Jenna," Carol called. My sister straightened like she was about to accept an award. "Yes," Carol cleared her throat. "I've reviewed the contract you signed and the communications leading up to this event. It appears that you misrepresented the purpose of today's booking." Jenna blinked, confused at first. "What? No, it's a family event. It's both a vow renewal and a ceremony for my sister." Carol shook her head. "The contract is for a vow renewal only. You told us explicitly that today was your event, and your sister's role was symbolic. You failed to disclose it was actually supposed to be her wedding." Jenna's eyes went wide and sharp. "That's not she's twisting things. She's lying because she doesn't want to share her day." "That's not all," Carol continued, lifting a folder. I also spoke with the photographer and officiant. They were booked under your name, with instructions that all focus would be on your vow renewal. This entire setup, she gestured at the daycare, the flowers, the chairs, was designed for you, not for your sister. People started murmuring. Phones lifted again. But then came the second twist, the one that truly broke Jenna's mask. Carol looked directly at her and said, and per venue policy, misrepresentation voids the contract. Jenna froze. Void? What do you mean void? It means, Carol said calmly, your event is cancelled. The room erupted, gasps, whispers, someone actually cheering before catching themselves. Jenna's face went ghost white. You can't cancel it. We're already here, we're dressed. People came from out of town, that's not fair. It is policy, Carol repeated. But don't worry, your guests are welcome to remain seated. Then she turned to me with this small, knowing smile. Because your sister has requested to reinstate the original booking for your wedding, and we are prepared to proceed with that effective immediately. Jenna whipped toward me so fast her hair flew. What? I didn't blink. I asked if we could start my wedding now. Since you stole it, I figured I'd take it back. You can't do that, she sputtered. This is my day, I booked it. No, I said slowly, clearly. You stole it. You lied to everyone here. You lied to the venue, you lied to me, and now the venue is taking it back. Jenna looked like she was unraveling, mouth trembling, eyes wild. You're doing this to humiliate me, she whispered. No, I said. You did that yourself, but the twist wasn't over. Because Evan, her own husband, stepped forward, rubbed a hand over his face, and said, Just stop, Jenna. This isn't even about the vow renewal. Jenna stiffened. Evan looked straight at her and said, You told me the only reason you wanted to renew our vows today was because the counseling wasn't working and you thought putting on a big show would make us look stable. The room went dead silent. And you said, he continued, voice breaking, that if everyone believed we were solid, then you'd have more leverage in the divorce. My jaw dropped. People stared like they couldn't breathe. Jenna stumbled backwards like she'd been physically shoved. A divorce. A plan. A manipulation. This wasn't just about my wedding. This was about her entire life cracking open. Jenna whispered, Evan, please, but he looked exhausted. I'm done lying for you. And all I could think was, she didn't just sabotage me. She was sabotaging everyone. When Evan's words hit the room, divorce, leverage, show, Jenna looked like she couldn't tell which direction the floor was anymore. Her perfectly curated world, the one she built out of attention and theatrics, was collapsing in front of people she desperately needed to impress. But that wasn't the end, not even close. Because once the shock wore off, once the whispers settled into a low hum, my mother stepped forward. And the look on her face, I'll never forget it. It wasn't anger. It was realization, this dawning, horrifying understanding that she had enabled something monstrous without ever meaning to. Jenna, she said quietly, why did you do all this? Really? Jenna swallowed hard. I just wanted my marriage to look good. That's not the real reason, Evan cut in, voice hollow. Tell them what you told me after your therapy session. The thing even your therapist said was alarming. Jenna's chin trembled, and for a second I thought she might actually crumble. But then her eyes, cold, sharp, calculating, shifted to me. She wasn't sorry, not even close. She lifted her chin and said it like she was delivering a personal truth she'd been waiting to confess. Because she doesn't deserve a day that's bigger than mine. A collective gasp moved through the room. My heart hammered once hard. Jenna kept going, voice calm, almost eerily steady. Do you all understand? My entire life, every time something good happened, someone compared me to her. They'd say things like, look how responsible she is, or she's so grounded, or she's the stable one. She shot me a look like it was meant to wound. It did, but not the way she thought. That was your spotlight, she said. Being the one people respected, being the one people trusted, she scoffed. But nobody sees responsibility. Nobody claps for being stable. People clap for me, they always have. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. So when you got engaged, suddenly everyone had something to say about how proud they were of you, how excited they were, how you deserved this moment. She mimicked the word deserved with a bitterness I didn't know a human voice could carry. And I thought. She shrugged like she was explaining a math equation. If she finally gets one big thing one day, become the favorite. My breath caught. So yes, she continued, I plan the vow renewal. I plan to overshadow her. I plan to make sure nobody forgot who the real star of this family is." Her voice turned ice cold. I wanted her to feel small. Someone whispered, "Jesus Christ," but she wasn't done. "The therapist said I need to stop competing with people who don't know they're in a race." She snorted. "But what does she know? You," she pointed at me, "have always been in competition with me, whether you admit it or not." "I wasn't," I whispered. "Well, I was," Jenna snapped. "And I wasn't going to let you beat me at something as public as a wedding." The silence that followed was suffocating, heavy, wrong. And then she delivered the final blow, the one that showed exactly what lived inside her. "I didn't ruin your wedding out of jealousy. I ruined it because it was the only way to make sure I stayed above you. If you want something in this family, you have to take it. I just did it better." When she finished, no one made a sound. Not my mom, not Evan, not the guests, not even Mark. Because everyone finally saw her clearly, not as dramatic, not as attention-seeking, but as something far colder. Someone who believed other people existed to be stepped on. Someone who thought pain was a tool. Someone who viewed love, marriage, and family as stages for her performance. It didn't hurt the way I expected. It chilled me. Because now I knew exactly what kind of person I was dealing with. And exactly how far I needed to go to make sure she never controlled my life again. When the last of Jenna's words settled into the air, her cold confession that she wanted to make me feel small, it was like the entire room collectively exhaled. People finally saw her for what she was. Not dramatic, not misunderstood, not insecure. Calculated, cruel, and fully aware of it. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I didn't even shake. I felt strangely steady, like the ground had stopped shifting underneath me. I turned to Carol, the venue manager, who was still standing nearby with her staff. "Are we good to proceed?" She nodded. "Whenever you're ready." Jenna spun toward her. "Proceed with what? This is my—" "It's not," Carol said sharply. "Your event has been canceled, and per policy, canceled events lose access to amenities immediately." Jenna blinked. "What does that mean?" And then the lights over the altar, her altar, shut off. The music stopped. The floral arch she demanded be placed center stage was removed by two staff members like it was trash set out for pickup. Her face twisted into this horrified, disbelieving mask. "You can't do this," she shouted, chasing after the arch like a child who'd had a toy taken. "Oh, we can," Carol said. "You misrepresented the purpose of the event. The contract is void." My maid of honor stepped up beside me. "Let's get you married." I walked to the front of the room, my room now, and Mark met me halfway. He took my hands, eyes full and warm. "You want to do this today?" he whispered. "Yes," I said, "but only if it's ours, completely." He squeezed my hands. "Then it is." Carol nodded to her staff. Within minutes, chairs were reset, decorations moved, the lights adjusted. It wasn't elaborate or perfect, but it was real, and it was mine. The guests, my guests, stayed right where they were. Even most of Jenna's stayed seated, watching with this mix of sympathy and disbelief, like they suddenly realized whose day it really was. And then came the part I didn't plan but absolutely welcomed. As the officiant approached us, Jenna tried to storm back in. "You can't do this without me here. I'm her sister." A staff member gently blocked her. "You're welcome to sit down," he said, "but you are not permitted to disrupt the ceremony." "I am the ceremony," she screamed. "No," my mom said from the first row, her voice trembling but firm. "You never were." Jenna froze like she'd been slapped. My mom looked at me, really looked at me for the first time in years. "Go ahead, sweetheart, have the day you deserve." And Jenna, she finally sat, not because she wanted to, but because there was nothing left for her to take. Our wedding began. It was quiet, simple, imperfect. But in all the ways that mattered, it was beautiful. People cried. Mark's voice cracked when he said his vows. I laughed once, actually laughed, because it felt like the first real breath I'd taken all day. When we kissed, the room erupted in cheers. Jenna didn't move. She just sat there, stunned, watching the one thing she'd tried so hard to steal unfold without her. Later, as we walked back up the aisle as husband and wife, I passed her. She grabbed my wrist. "You think you won," she whispered. I looked at her hand, then up at her hollow, furious eyes. "I didn't win," I said quietly. "I just stopped letting you." I walked away before she could answer. In the months that followed, Jenna and Evan separated. Not because of me, because the truth finally caught up to her. She tried to reach out once or twice, always with excuses, half apologies, and vague attempts to rewrite what happened. I didn't respond. Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It isn't humiliating. It isn't explosive. It's simply refusing to let the villain keep the script. My life moved forward. Hers stopped spinning the day she realized nobody was clapping anymore. And honestly, that was the perfect ending.